Ask 100 people to define folk music, and you'll get 100 different definitions. While it's often difficult to define, most people will agree that folk music is a living tradition that reflects the music of the people. It's a cultural process that was influenced originally by the oral transmission of songs. In the 20th century, folk music continued to evolve and made use of technological advancements, including radio. In 2019, technology has evolved. Digital streams and Bluetooth devices allow for new methods of reaching listeners. Folk music can make use of these changes to continue to reach new audiences. Enter Folk Music Notebook. The Folk Music Notebook will be an internet radio station showcasing folk music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The launch date is proposed for May 3rd on the 100th anniversary of the birth of folk music icon Pete Seeger. The Folk Music Notebook will offer a curated playlist with brief but informative DJ announcements, recorded artist interstitials, as well as other special features. Folk Music Notebook will engage the listener by showing the connections between songs and styles, keeping the listener engrossed throughout the day without constant badgering from host or repetitive automated playlists. Limited commercials and program sponsorships will be aimed at a target audience currently supporting folk music, and the programming will be diverse and intriguing to capture new listeners as well. What will it sound like? Well, the music to be shared on Folk Music Notebook will focus on the diverse contemporary folk music community, while also incorporating folk revival artists that drew people to this genre. This will be grassroots music, representing a living tradition and made for contemporary audiences, exemplified by creative artists who are performing, touring, and recording music that reflects modern sensibilities. The station will consist of unique daily playlists that will be curated by myself. Now, this will not be random spins designed by algorithms. Segs between songs will flow naturally and make sense to the listeners. New songs from new artists will blend in naturally into the structure to avoid feeling out of place and showing the connection that folk music is known for. The intent of the Folk Music Notebook is to create a unique sound that a listener will recognize no matter what day part they turn into. Folks in their cars, sitting at a desk at work, or relaxing at home will find a mix of folk songs from a deep playlist that differentiates itself from other online offerings. Breaking news will be offered when situations warrant, and the playlist will gear to events of the day. Folk music has songs for every subject. We will feature a number of correspondents, artists and individuals who will share their link to the community with special reports and features. Folk music icon Christine Lavin will share her perspective and conversations with other artists through a series called One-on-One Plus One, a new series that will be heard exclusively on Folk Music Notebook. Others, including Joe Jenks and David Rovics, will be heard, and there are more being added to the lineup. Some people may ask, is there an audience for folk music in 2019? Well, it may come as a surprise to those people, but interest in folk music did not come to an end when Bob Dylan plugged in an electric guitar at the 1965 Newport Folk Festival. The big record labels and commercial radio stations may have turned their heads, but the folk music community remained passionate about the diverse sounds of this music. Contemporary singer-songwriters obliterate the myth that folk songs only encompass dusty centuries-old tunes that have been played the same way forever. This is not the cliched fodder that is stereotyped by comedians and the uninformed mainstream media. Folk music is innovative and constantly growing. Reverberations from the folk music revival in the 1960s can still be felt. It established roots that grew singer-songwriters who reach audiences in other musical genres. Even Lady Gaga has performed Woody Guthrie and Phil Ochs songs in her concerts, and her own Born This Way is a gay rights anthem that embraces the spirit of protest and topical songs that were hallmarks of the folk revival. If you visit any of the numerous folk festivals held annually across the country, you'll be exposed to a large and thriving audience not being serviced by the mainstream. Folk music embraces new generations, as witnessed by the extraordinary 20-somethings who are creating their own unique scene. Witness firsthand the hipster old-time music renaissance in Brooklyn, New York. From concert halls to house concerts, from weekly gatherings in small halls to large annual fests, from church basements to full-time commercial venues, the interest in folk music remains strong. The operating plan for the Folk Music Notebook is built on a budget that will be sourced by limited commercials and sponsorships. Initial funding is being done through crowdfunding and identifying corporate sponsors and advertisers to get the station off the ground and ensure at least 1 year's streaming and operational costs are covered. The budget for the startup and the first year of operations is estimated at $12,000. Some of these funds have already been allocated, and this Kickstarter campaign will hopefully raise the rest. We will not be subscriber-based. We wish to avoid public radio-style fund drives to support this channel. The idea is to make this service available to listeners for free and available on different platforms and apps to make it as accessible as possible. If we exceed our goals, we can increase our budgets to provide more services and also publicize to make our presence known to even wider audiences. Thanks for taking the time to view our proposal. The Folk Music Notebook will represent the folk music community, a living tradition that we can share in together, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We're looking forward to bringing this to you on May 3rd, but we need your help to make that happen. Please show your support today. I thank you.
To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be
there you have it. In a
born,
nutshell,
time
that's the
to
Folk
die.
Music Notebook. This is something that I think can really grow. The money that I'm looking to raise here will get us launched and will enable us to be in business for at least 1 year. And I hope after that we can establish ourselves, establish other advertisers, and keep this thing going for years and years to come. This is an opportunity I think that we all can share in together. There are so many amazing artists that I know I hear every week, and I try to bring as much as I can on my show, and artists that I think deserve to be in more homes than many of the top 40 artists that you hear on commercial radio these days. I think this can become a gathering spot for the folk community, but in order to do it, we need your help. So take some time, look at this webpage, consider some of the gifts that we have available, and I hope you'll be able to support us and make this a reality. I think it's something we can all share in and something that we can all be proud of. This is not a vanity project of mine. This is something that I think that is truly needed and can represent the entire folk community. If you have any questions, write to me. My email address is ron@folkmusicnotebook.com. Got lots of work to do, so I'm going to get back to doing this, and I hope you'll take the opportunity now to kick in a few bucks. It'll go a long, long way, and I think it'll be something that you'll be proud of. So, I'm Ron Olesko. Thank you so much for your help. We'll see you on the radio.